Wonderful. All right, we're returning to Ethiopia. It's been a while since I did an Ethiopia Millennium Dawn game. Been quite a while. Quite a long while. I like it a lot, though. I did this, man, probably back in June or July, I think. It's been a long time. I did Ethiopia before. It's a really interesting country in 2000. It's a really interesting country in general, especially the last, like, 20, 30 years, because it's... A lot of people have described it as like a framework for economic development and industrialization in Africa in the modern era. Whether or not that's the case is kind of, I don't know, a little bit contentious, but regardless, they've had some pretty insane economic growth after the fall of Mengistu, and I think when was it, 93 or 92 or something like that? After the death of his form of socialism. At this point, they are still a socialist country, kind of more in name only rather than anything else. I mean... Like, while they are technically socialist, they're on the path towards going toward democracy. What we're going to be doing specifically is bringing back the kingdom. Because one of the things the Millennium Dawn tree allows you to do is bring back the kingdom. So, which should be obviously Haile Selassie is the famous one, Abyssinia and all that. So we're gonna bring back the monarchy, which will make us nationalist and allow us to do some pretty fun stuff. But anyway, yeah. So okay, in 2000 we are currently in real bad shape. The previous leadership in Ethiopia was the Mengistu government, who was incompetent, to put it lightly, dangerous, to put it in other words. He basically oversaw the mass famine of Ethiopia. Millions of people died. Example of socialism that just does not fucking work. Collectivized labor, collectivized farming, all that sort of stuff. So we're still dealing with that. We have the looming famine. There was a famine probably, I think, around 15 years ago, 15 to 10 years ago in Ethiopia. But we still have just huge agricultural problems because I think, as far as I'm aware, they haven't opened up to free enterprise in 2000. So it's still collectivized agriculture, which doesn't really work. All right, we're going to go feature of Ethiopia. Like I said, we are going to go with the monarchy here. Ethiopian communism. Yeah, not exactly. Currently, we're in the transitional phase between Ethiopian communism, Ethiopian socialism, really, to democracy. But we will not be going that path. We are going to transition back to the monarchy, which was the government of Ethiopia for most of its history. Haile Selassie was overthrown in 74, I think, or 75, something like that. So the monarchy hasn't been around for 26 years or so, 25 years or so. Alright, cool. We want Eritrea. We're just going to annex them again. Alright, wonderful. So that was actually very quick. It was tougher last time, but to be fair, last time I played this Ethiopia game, Millennium Dawn, I think it was in June, and at that point my Hoi skills were very non-existent, so... Alright, so to start with, we're an African Union member. So the African Union obviously is, I guess, like, you could compare it to the EU in its, like, earliest state, but that's a bit of a stretch. Yeah. U.S. aids, we're getting foreign aid from the U.S. federal government, which is actually really not the greatest thing in the world. Multi-ethnic states, we have the African brain drain. Everyone's leaving, basically. So we have to build up our GDP per capita if we want to get rid of that. We have a looming famine, which is really bad for us, so we'll have to rush the focus to get rid of that so we can stabilize our agriculture. And of course, we are non-power because, I mean, we're Ethiopia. That was before the economic update, so I want to see what we can do with this. Because right now, I mean, our country is not great. 31 billion GDP. We have 4,550 bucks GDP per capita. That is bad. So we have a lot of work to do to overhaul Ethiopia and turn it into a, you know, semi-successful power. So I think what the end goal here is, let me explain our goals real quick, as with any Millennium Dawn game. What we want to do here, obviously, after we bring back the monarchy, we're going to kind of stay after the instability of you know, the socialists and the communists are Mengistu, and then under Zenawi, Ethiopia wants to go for something more stable, and the only really alternative that they've ever known is obviously the monarchy, Haile Selassie being the last one, of course. He's obviously dead now, so we'll have to get the heir, which we can get with our focus tree. Once we get him back, we're going to kind of be a more, you know, militaristic, old school version of Ethiopia. So we're going to focus on economic, you know, productivity, economic growth, but also militarism and almost certainly expansion in Africa. So we're going to look to turn ourselves into probably the pinnacle African power, and maybe even go into the Middle East a little bit for some of those resources. So that's our goal here for Ethiopia. So we've dealt with that. They are back under our control. Obviously, they will have no semblance of independence anymore. Starting off, we are in bad shape. We have $33 billion in debt. We have 2 factories, and they are both mills, so we have no civs at all. The only way we'll get civs is our focus tree and foreign investment. So it's going to be pretty brutal for us. But anyway, this is a really funny focus that we have, which is to befriend Jamaica. So obviously the Rastafarians in Jamaica worship Haile Selassie. So when we bring back the monarchy, we can basically get an alliance with Jamaica, because, you know, for Eritrean People's Liberation Front refounded. For the second time since the Second World War, Eritrea finds itself under Ethiopian occupation. Many high-ranking politicians and military leaders gone into exile and founded the Eritrean Liberation Front in nearby Sudan. After the independence of Eritrea, the original EPLF reformed itself into the People's Front of Democracy and Justice and acted as the ruling party of Eritrea until we disbanded it. However, since Isaiah is currently under house arrest in Addis Ababa, his presidential advisor, Yamane Gebrebe, took over and is currently the head of the political wing of the LPF. Well, hopefully they fuck off. You must recognize the Republic of China as the real China. We are going to go nationalist, so I don't think we will be predisposed much towards China, frankly. We'll see. What route is Russia going to go? That's a really important one. I haven't decided yet. Depending on where Russia goes, that will really define how easy this game is. If they go with Zernovsky and the nationalists, we will have a lot of foreign aid and military and economic. But if they go with something else, we're kind of going to be on our own here, since there's really no nationalist governments on the planet to speak of. We'll still get a lot of foreign investment. It'll just be less than otherwise would be. So we'll have to see how this goes. Now, we do have 1 port, so we can build a navy now. Obviously, we didn't get any dockyards, so we'll have to build them ourselves, but we can do that later if we want to do that. I think we probably will build a navy at some point. Navy in Millennium Dawn is really complex, but there's a couple ship types that if you build mainly just submarines, you'll be fine with. So we'll probably build a sub-navy at some point. We're not going to rush like early wars. Maybe a few. If we get the opportunity to go into Somalia, we might go for that, just, you know, for revenge, because fuck them. But beyond that, we're not going to do a lot of wars of annexation, because we need to do our focuses to actually get civs, because our economic tree really is not bad. It's based a lot around foreign investment, but by the end of it, we do get, I think, quite a few civs, if I remember correctly. Not insane about, but enough that we can build an economy, because civs in Millennium Dawn are really powerful, especially if you're not playing a major nation. They allow you to snowball very quickly. I mean, obviously of any Boy game, but especially Millennium Dawn, they're useful because they do provide GDP in addition to the capacity to obviously build things, right? So, all right, cool. We got some foreign investment from Norway. It's only infrastructure, but it's still useful. That's what we really just got to hope we get. The more foreign investment like that we get, the stronger, or the quicker we will develop economically. As a minor nation in Ethiopia, or really any country, you're just kind of at the mercy of foreign investment to really be able to grow your economy if you want it to happen even remotely quickly. We have to keep our corruption for now, because our corruption is what's giving us political power. So we can work on the other thing of starting with getting rid of US aid. All right, so with the remaining political power that we do have, I think obviously defunding the military is a good place to start, because we are going to focus purely on economics in the beginning. We get our shit together, because we have large military spending. What is the primary expense right now? Education. That I kind of want to keep. Defense is actually negligible, so I don't see any reason to reduce that. Defense costs are really dependent upon GDP per capita. So the fact that our people are so poor, we have huge military spending, but our people are so poor that it actually doesn't cost a lot, because, I mean, we literally just give them a gun and train them for a week. So, right, cool. Legacy of Abyssinia. We're going to glorify the Italian-Ethiopian War. So let's go ahead and read these focuses, because they're kind of interesting. Ethiopia has had a glorious history as one of Africa's first Western-style nations, led by the emperor. This country, generally called Abyssinia in the West, would be destined to take a leading role in Africa and the world if it was ever to be reborn. Countries, nations, and nationalism are forged in conflict. Ethiopia was forged in the battlefields of 1895 and 1935. We should remind the world of Italian treachery and they have the never-ending courage of the technologically inferior Ethiopian forces. Italy tried to kill us, to destroy us, to annihilate our nation, and here we stand. Fucking Italians, man. I swear. As our GDP per capita is lower than 5,000, we will receive harsher demands than normal. Yeah, so if we could wait until our economy, if our GDP per capita gets up a little bit more, that'd be nice. The problem is it's going down because we're just running more and more of a deficit, and oh my god, we have 28% interest rate. Jesus Christ, it's higher than my student loans. What the fuck? I mean, we can't always default on our debts. It's just, it'll be brutal if we do that because we go into depression, which I think requires 600 political power to even get back to like break even in terms of economic cycles, which would be really bad. It would get rid of our debt. It's the last option. I don't have to use it. Ethiopia is in dire need of economic opportunity. Our country both has a massive workforce, a low income level, and a considerable unemployment rate. Perfect conditions for investing companies from richer nations. Translation. We're perfect for predatory foreign companies to get cheap labor and not have to pay people or give them any quality of life. That's what that means. Because you know what makes a fucking industrial CEO get more turned on than anything else in the world? A poor nation ripe for economic exploitation. Nothing else does it more for those guys. I'll tell you what.
Oh, yeah.
We may have to default on our debts. We'll see. What we're going to do then is we're going to just basically get more and more debt by running what we currently do. We'll go all the way down our economic tree and then we'll default on our debts, which will really fuck up our economy, but we'll have a big enough industrial base at that point we can recover really quickly. Because there's no point defaulting on debts like now. We want to wait as long as possible so that we can build up as much as we can in our nation. So when we do default, we have a bigger economic base to build back from. It'll still be brutal and really bad, but it's more doable. Well, let's actually take a quick look at who the guy we're going to get in charge in power. I don't know if it's Haile Selassie's son. Obviously, Haile Selassie, he was the last emperor, or king, really emperor, of Ethiopia. He's dead now. So we're going to get Zera Jacob. Let's go ahead and read this real quick. Yeah, here it is. Zera Jacob Alma Selassie, grandson of Haile Selassie I, is the rightful pretender to Ethiopia's imperial throne. Excuse me. Educated at Eden, he was forced in exile with the rest of the royal family after the Communist Revolution of '74. Yep. That was when Mengistu, well, he was immediately in charge, but Mengitu's party took power. He currently resides in both the UK and the US at various times. Okay, so we're going to bring him back. We now officially have a famine. That's kind of been an on and off issue since the end of Haile Selassie's government due to mainly the collectivization of agriculture under the Communist Party, which never goes well. So in order to deal with this, we have to, I believe, stabilize the food supply. So we're going to have to hold off on our economic development long enough to be able to stabilize the food supply. So we'll go for that. All right, so we have an interim Crown Council of Ethiopia right now. We will be bringing back the grandson of Haile Selassie, but the first thing we need to do is solve our famine. We have currently undergoing a full-blown famine right now. We are in bad shape. We have $225 billion in debt at a 37% interest rate. We have overbearing famine. We have no industry to speak of, and our political government's just in chaos. So this is the storm before the calm, I guess. We're in real bad shape. We'll get things back on the track, but we have a bumpy road here. The historical Ethiopian famine was absolutely horrible. I think it's estimated between 1 and 2 million people died in the famine, which was obviously perpetrated by the Mengistu communist government. Again, collectivized agriculture doesn't fucking work. It doesn't. And every time a government does it, it goes the same fucking way. All right, we were almost being able to stabilize food supply in Ethiopia. Man, I have all of these plans for Ethiopia of turning it into a modern, powerful empire, building a strong economy, competing on the world stage, expanding in Africa, and we're just like being debilitated by foreign debt and famine. I suppose that's just how ambitions as an African nation tend to go. There's so many things you want to do, but at the end of the day, you're just debilitated by the internal problems of your country, which is fucking sad, man. I hope in my lifetime we see the beginnings of actual like African power, because it will happen one day. The landmass, the resources, the population, it's all there. You got all the features for a massive power in Africa, but obviously colonialization, modern colonization in the economic form, and 100 other one little factors are basically keeping them kind of down. Like, Africa is a sleeping giant. There's still a lot of sleeping giants in the world. India, Brazil, Africa, and to a lesser degree, America right now. America is currently a sleeping giant, in my opinion. We've kind of basically made ourselves into one. But, like, our potential, if we ever get our shit together, is still massive. So, just in my opinion, though. Alright, guys, we're going to stabilize the food supply now. Food is a dangerous situation. Crops and the recent wars with Eritrea have caused us to lose our connections to the sea. Well, not exactly. We did annex them. We should work on regaining and normalizing trade, else our people starve. Good. Alright, this will get rid of our famine. We'll also have a stabilized food supply, which will be very nice. We'll go ahead and invite Zera Jacob back, and we will have our Selassie on the throne of Ethiopia. After which, we are going to work on our economy. Alright, wonderful. We have him back. Haile Selassie's coronation. The day was perfectly chosen. The sun is shining bright, and there is not a single cloud in the sky. Haile Selassie rides on his horse, surrounded by a large, cheering crowd, towards the Medane Alam Cathedral and Addis Ababa. Today, his official coronation as His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, elect of God, conquering lion of the tribe of Judea and King of Kings of Ethiopia. That's a good title. Together with his onlyest child, he holds on front of the cathedral, which got decorated with the imperial banners, and steps towards the entrance. Inside the cathedral is everyone from importance in Ethiopia waiting and eager the coronation. As Zera walks towards the precipice, his heart begins to beat faster. This is truly a moment he won't forget, and he could not even imagine in his craziest dreams. The ceremony itself was pretty fast over, and as he walks out as the legitimate king of Ethiopia, everyone bows for him. Long live his majesty. All right. Zera Jacob Selassie is now the king of Ethiopia. Wonderful.